Let's introduce our next guest here on the Inner Drive. You probably recognize his face as one of the stars of Bravo's $1 Million Listing LA, where him and his partner, his business partner, David Parnes, are controlling this LA market to the tune of over $500 million in sales in 2017, including, if you're a fan of 90210, the $120 million Manor, the Manor, the spelling Manor. So up next for him is a new podcast that's coming out in a couple of weeks, aptly named The Positively Chaotic with James Harris. So I'd like to welcome in James Harris. Welcome aboard.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you having me, and happy to be here.
Awesome. I appreciate you taking the time and for coming on today. Well, I guess, let's start right from the beginning. You started in real estate at a very early age. It sounds like you thought, well, school just wasn't for me. What drove you to get into the real estate industry at 16?
So you're right. You took the words out of my mouth. School wasn't for me. And I have a very unconventional story, so to speak. I was leaving school just as my friends were kind of graduating and getting ready to go to university. And I just had the urge to get out there, make money. And from a very young age, I had a passion for real estate. My mother is an interior designer. So I spent a lot of my childhood moving from home to home. My mum would redesign it. We'd sell, we'd move. A lot of our family friends were in the real estate industry, and I saw some of the deals they were doing. And I took a very early liking to the idea of being in the industry. And so I pounded the pavement, age 16, became a junior agent assistant in Northwest London, and worked my way up the ranks for 5 years before moving over here to Los Angeles, age 21. So it was a very interesting start to my career, for sure.
Yeah, so you make the point in 5 years, you decided, all right, I like real estate. Not only do you like it, you decide I'm going to make the jump all the way across, not to stop in New York, all the way across to Los Angeles. You said you spent some time there. What drew you to the LA market?
I mean, LA as a lifestyle is just dreamy. You're in London, it's pouring with rain. You turn on the news and you see Hollywood. I didn't realize when I got to Hollywood, it was actually pretty ugly, but Beverly Hills, on the other hand, is pretty damn beautiful. My father actually lived here in Los Angeles. So after 5 years of working, you take a gap year, which is usually a 3-month period to travel the world and see things and backpack and things of that nature. I'd never had that luxury. So after 5 years, I wanted to travel. I came here for what was supposed to be 3 months, fell madly in love with the landscape, the weather, the beaches, and the overall lifestyle. And long story short, I never left, and now we're talking 15 years on, and I have zero regrets, and I've never looked back.
Yeah, that was one of my questions. It's a hard move. Obviously, you must have had some family support to move that far away, and you obviously didn't regret a decision you make. Now, for those that follow the show, $1 Million Listing LA, and for you in particular, you team up with David. How did you guys link up?
Dave and I have been best friends since day one. Our mothers are best friends. Our mothers were in business together and had an interior design company for many years in London. I moved out here first, and then sort of as the 2008 recession hit, David was in commercial real estate in Europe. And so as that business was just collapsing, it was an opportunity for David to kind of start fresh and come to Los Angeles. So Dave joined me here in LA, and then after about a year or two, we both have a passion for real estate, and we both said it's time to set up our real estate business. And that's exactly what we went ahead and did. And that's 8 years ago now. And a lot has happened in those 8 years.
Yeah, not to mention what's happened in the last few months. Obviously, the real estate market, I guess, leading up to the pandemic had already changed quite a bit. But in the run up to the intro to today's show, you were mentioning that the market's on fire. How have you had to adapt as a real estate agent in a global pandemic where there was virtual tours for a while and not being able to get in some properties here in upstate New York? What was the most challenging aspect of that adaptation with the global pandemic that was over everybody's head?
Yeah, I think the bottom line is this: if you are willing to adapt, you can adapt. A lot of the more old school agents are unwilling to change and adapt. So for us, it was jumping into gear, Instagram Live, Facebook tours, Instagram tours, moving away from print media over to digital media, where we know people's eyeballs are glued to their computers right now, making sure that we were on Zoom meetings, webinar meetings, and making sure that we were frontline and center and staying relevant to those that were out looking. And people were very bored during that time. So they were looking. And I think if you note from January through the pandemic, there's been less mortgage applications filed than post the pandemic to now. Interest rates are low. Buyers are bored, their vacations are canceled, and a lot of people are buying with interest rates as low as they are. And we're just trying to make sure we're on top of that.
Yeah, one of the things I've noticed in just talking to you for the last 7 minutes or so is the passion that you have for the industry, the passion that may set you apart from other agents. You also remain a very positive person in seeing your social media platforms. How did you balance that? You've got this crazy thing that nobody's ever dealt with before in the pandemic. You still remained a positive person. What's it like for your routine, or did that have to change in order to remain the positive person that you are, that we see today?
I'm a very routine person, so my entire routine changed. And I personally believe the glass is always half full. And the moment that it's half empty, your mindset starts to change. And so for the first 2 weeks of COVID, I shifted into the half glass empty mindset, and it was really bad. I was with a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear. I'd go to bed very anxious every single night, and I kind of lost everything that I'd worked so hard to learn over the years. And I went to bed one evening and I said to myself, I was going to wake up the next day and I was going to have a shift of mindset, change the mentality. The glass was going to go back to being half full. And I woke up the next morning and I started to find my feet with my new routine. And I started to work out every single day. And, you wake up in the morning and you have to have a mindset ready go attitude. And I built my new schedule. I stuck to it. I stayed focused. I stayed busy, and my energy level started to rise. And then I started sharing that positivity and giving it back to others, and watching other people gravitate towards that only fueled me even more. And you live a much happier life when you come from a place of positivity versus negativity. And we as human beings have a choice. We have a choice on how we're going to behave, how we're going to react, how we're going to respond. And so I shifted my mindset completely, and I haven't looked back since. And I feel great today.
Yeah, you got to have that attitude in the ups and downs of the markets. That's a thing that we try to strive for ourselves. It's very difficult to do, but it seems like you've come out of this learning a lot more about yourself, and certainly got a pathway to get out of this, like everybody should. So speaking of the positivity in this industry that you're dealing with, it's very difficult. Markets change, dealing with tough clients. If anybody saw last week's episode, dealing with Curson Avenue or Curson Drive, trying to get the seller to understand the market is speaking. How do you do that? You have a Rolodex of clients that you're trying to deal with on a daily basis to get them to understand, hey, this is the market speaking. How do you go into a conversation that you had with that client, knowing full well he's not going to take the news as well as most people will?
In a market like today, you have to work smart. You can work hard, but you have to work smart. And a lot of sellers, especially developers, their biggest problem is their ego. And when they finish a project and they were meant to do it in 2 years and it took 4 years and they were only meant to spend $1 million and they spent $1.6 million, then they expect that when it's finished, the buyer's going to pay for their mishaps. And so you have to make sure in today's market that if you are going to take on a listing, that you keep your seller's expectations realistic. You cannot overpromise and underdeliver. You cannot take listings today that are overpriced. And Curson was listed a year ago. We shot that episode almost 11 months ago. The market was starting to change back then from a seller's market to a buyer's market. And as time was developing, the market was changing. So keeping our clients' expectations realistic the whole way along is the number one key to success. If I'd blown smoke up his ass the whole time and told him the offer's coming, my listing would have expired and I would have lost it. But what I did was I told him every step of the way, we're overpriced. We need to bring the price down. If you want to get it sold, here's where it needs to be. And eventually he listened, he lowered the price, a buyer came to the table and we closed escrow. And in a time like now, even with interest rates low, it's a buyer's market. We're grateful that the market is on fire, but buyers are dictating what properties are selling for. So if you're an unrealistic seller, I'm very transparent. I tell my clients, sit, wait, maybe give it 12 months, see where the market is. But if you're a willing seller and you're a realistic seller, let's talk, let's come up with a strategy, let's be aggressive, and let's get your property sold. So it's about picking and choosing the real sellers versus the ones that are just trying to make a killing, even though their property is not worth it.
Right. Yeah. We're in the business of expectation management a lot, and you
Yep.
hit right on it. It's something that people need to learn is not always blowing that smoke. Yeah, you can be the yes man, but that's not going to get a sale. Now,
Yep.
you have a wonderful family. We see them on the show, and you mentioned that you've watched your family grow up over the years through $1 Million Listing LA. What's the transition been like from the 21-year-old that came to LA to now a family man that's breaking records all over California and the United States?
It's a great question. I mean, God, I get goosebumps when you ask the question because I have changed so much. I mean, since the day my daughter was born in 2009, I think when you have children, everything changes. Your life's no longer about you; it's about them. The safety of your family is about your family, not you. And everything I do today is for my family. And my life has changed because my responsibilities have changed. I've gone from being a young kid to an adult, and it all happened very quick. I had my first child at 26. So for me, life today is about family, about growing my business organically, and just becoming the best person that I can be, and doing that with a humbled attitude, because I think once your ego gets in the way of your success is over. If you can remain humble and confident that you're going to continue to grow and rise, sky's the limit. But if you become cocky and arrogant, it's going to kill you. So David and I have both learned that we can never become complacent. We can never be cocky. We can never be arrogant. We can never turn down a great opportunity like chatting with you today. And sky's the limit. And we're just going to keep going.
With a cutthroat industry that you're in, how do you manage to stay humble? Does the family play a role in it? I mean, we've seen how it can get as far as fighting over listing, whether it's a $3 million listing or a $30 million listing. How do you manage those things?
You know, there's a way of being cutthroat and also being ethical at the same time. And David and I have always remained ethical every step of the way in our business. We've remained honest. We've learned very early on in our career that your relationships with other real estate agents are so key, because clients will come and go, real estate agents will stay. And so we've always maintained a very strong relationships with our other agents. And there is a way of getting business done without screwing people over. And that has been our MO, and it's worked very well for us. And when we need to get cutthroat, we will and we can, but we do it with a smile on our face.
Yeah, and again, you can tell the difference between a real agent and somebody that's just trying to go along for the ride. Now,
you mean the difference between Josh Altman and David and I?
I'm not going to pass judgment. However, we're going to get back to that. We're certainly going to get back to that because that's one of the things that's on my mind. But I have to imagine you go from a 16-year-old in London to one day walking around the Spelling Manor, a $120 million piece of real estate. Was that a time, or is there another time where you look around and you wonder, how the heck did I get to this place? Or you pinch yourself to be so lucky to be in some of these situations?
I would say at least once a week, I have that moment. And again, it goes back to being cocky versus being humble. And I think at most days or most weeks, I remember the little child from London that was being expelled from school, that was a challenged kid growing up, to being where I am today. And I am eternally grateful. I know hard work pays off. And we've had so many milestones in our career that I will never forget. And just when you think you've closed the biggest deal, the best deal, the hardest deal, another one comes along. And I think the truth is, if this is anything I've learned, is hard work really does pay off. And we're always looking at how we can grow, what's the next best thing, and how can we sort of get out of our comfort zone. And so we're always trying to top the last deal that we've done. And we know that we're only as good as our last deal. So we're always trying to expand and be better.
How do you manage the expectations of setting another record or getting to the next deal and managing the life at home? It's a tough hurdle to accomplish for most individuals. You seem to do it very well. You have a nice, happy family, but I imagine, is there really a work-life balance? Are you able to shut off your phone when you go home?
I'll tell you right now, my one major flaw, in my opinion, and I am getting better at it, is a balance. You know, there is such a thing as a healthy balance. Sitting at dinner with your family and turning your phone upside down, or leaving it in your bedroom and focusing on your family and the weekends. I struggle with that. And my kids and my wife kind of know and expect daddy might answer a phone call. Daddy might work on the weekend. Daddy might not be home till 8 p.m. But it's something that I'm striving to become better at every single day. And as our business grows and we hire more people, we're able to delegate more. And that allows us to spend more time with family. But again, this is a 24/7 business and it requires a lot of your time. And like everyone in my business and most sales businesses, I'm learning every day and I'm trying to grow and learn a healthier balance.
Yeah, it's something you got to do. If you have the family support at the same time, there's got to be expectation management in that understanding. There's also business to be done. You mentioned earlier, I didn't realize that you were expelled from school. Obviously it wasn't for you. How do you go from talking to your parents about that, the expectations they may have had for you, to them supporting you getting into the real estate industry at that age? Take us back to that time and reflect upon what that was like.
So I'll keep that brief. I was expelled from 9 schools, which is a hard pill to swallow for anyone to hear. I had behavioral issues as a child. I didn't want to sit still. I distracted the whole class. I wasn't academic. I didn't enjoy the school curriculum. I wanted to get out and work. And I'm an only child, single mother who raised me on her own. And my mother always stood by me, always supported me, never gave up on me, and always believed in me. And I think because of the belief my mum had in me, I never lost confidence in myself because of my underachieving at school. I always believed in myself. And that's carried on to my adult life. It's carried on to every aspect of my life. It's like I look in the mirror, my wife can't understand it, and I see huge muscles, but my wife sees no muscles. But it doesn't matter what other people see, it matters what I see. And so I've never lost that self-confidence. And I think that that's a really great attribute to have, because you have to believe in yourself in order to take it out and carry that to others. So it was a wild journey growing up, but I look back today and I don't have one regret in my life.
Now, I'm going to ask it. I think I know the answer, given your attitude and how you tackle things and how you've tackled things throughout your life. But was ever a moment making the move from London to LA where you said, you know what, maybe I made the wrong decision?
Never, not once. I stand by my decisions. I stand by my actions. Don't get me wrong. I've made many, many, many mistakes in my life, but I look at every mistake as a lesson learned. And I don't think I could be where I am today if I hadn't made those mistakes along the way, and I would change nothing. And now my mother lives with me, or at least in Los Angeles, and is a grandmother to my 2 daughters, and no regrets.
No, life is good. That's awesome.
Life is great, man.
Now we're going to circle into the fun part of the interview, getting back to the Josh Altman. You mentioned before, you try to remain humble. You try to, keep your values, so to speak, at the forefront. You guys have had your clashes. If David decides to retire and you had to choose somebody from the $1 million listing, whether it's LA or New York, to come and be your partner, I'm guessing Josh Altman wouldn't be your first choice. Is there somebody else that you'd like to team up with?
Josh Altman wouldn't even be a choice. It would definitely be Josh Flagg. I mean, look, I actually I adore Tracy. I think Josh Flagg's just an absolute character, born and raised in Beverly Hills. Proud to say he's a trust fund baby and loves every minute of it. But he's a character. He actually has a ton of knowledge, and that would be my first choice.
Now, is he the same person? You talk about everybody plays a character. He is a character.
What you see is what you get.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Let me tell you, there is no script with that guy, and you do not know what is going to come out of that man's mouth. That's in front of a camera, behind a camera, at a dinner, in Europe, at a bar. He might be the most inappropriate person I know, but there's something very lovable, kind, and sweet about him as well.
Well, that's it. I mean, people gravitate toward him. They like that character that he plays or that he is. And but the best part about it is he sells real estate. He's good at his job. He knows his stuff.
He does, and he is, and I agree.
If it wasn't real estate, obviously it's been 20 years of your life, what would you be doing?
It's a great question. If it wasn't real estate, I would probably be some type of a music manager, talent agent. I love people. I love deals. I love negotiating deals, and I love putting people together. And the talent world always kind of got me excited and interested, and looking at some of these big talent agents and music managers that broker deals and tours and movies and TV shows. That to me today still gets me excited at the thought of doing something like that. But I love the deal and the art of the negotiation.
Speaking of the deals that kind of came your way, you thought when $1 Million Listing reached out through one of their agents, you thought it was a joke. Take us back through that. I guess not only the decision to do it, you were chosen to be on the cast, but what would life be like without $1 Million Listing LA?
Do you know, it's the $1 million question. I have no idea. You know, David and I in our first year of real estate closed 160 million in transactions. I think that's what perked people up and their eyes started rolling when they started to cast us for the show. There's no doubt the show's been phenomenal to us in our careers and showcasing what we're about, what we do, how we do it. But Dave and I are so competitive, not just out there, but with each other, that I feel like we'll thrive under no matter what circumstance we're in. But I've loved the show. It's been an amazing journey. And the crew are amazing. The producers are amazing. You become like a family. We shoot for 11 months a year. It's a lot of work and time. It's not easy, but you have a ton of fun doing it, and you got to be willing to put in the time. And again, I've loved every single moment of it.
Well, I'd be remiss if we didn't go back and talk about this new endeavor that's coming up. You got the Positively Chaotic with James Harris podcast coming up in a few weeks. Tell us a little bit about that. What's in store for us there?
Yeah, so I again, going back to people, I just love people. And I know that everybody has a positively chaotic journey in their lives. And so I wanted to really open up and explore other people's chaos, you know, because it's not about the chaos, it's about how you deal with it. And if you look at so many successful people in the world, and you can really pick any one of them, they've all had chaos in their lives. And so I was intrigued to see where they started, where the middle was, and how they got to where they are today, and what those turning points were, what those moments were. So that's what my podcast is going to focus on. It's coming out in a couple of weeks. I'm super excited, and I think we have some amazing content to share. So definitely tune in.
Looking forward to it. Now, I'll get you out of here. I know we're running up on the time here, and it's been fantastic. Appreciate you taking the time away from it. Any tidbits on tonight's episode right now? It's June 30th. It's Tuesday. It's going to be another episode of $1 Million Listing LA. Anything we should be looking out for tonight or in the season to come?
Tonight, Dave and I are breaking into new territories. We go to Pasadena. We have another little house that we're working on, a mid-century. It needs a lot of work. So we think outside the box, get creative to think of ways to sell it. And it's a great episode. So definitely tune in.
Awesome. Well, James, I appreciate the time. I know it's a busy time for you. We got this buyer's market. Good luck with everything you do. Good luck with the new podcast, and hopefully down the road our paths will cross again.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure talking. Thank you for having me, and let's stay in touch.
Awesome. Take care, James.
Thank you so much.
Hey, Mom.
Yeah.
Real quick question. So I'm sitting in the podcast studio right now, and we're talking about my former life. What age was I first expelled from school?
3.
No. Be serious.
I'm serious.
What do you mean? Why?
Because you didn't fit in. They couldn't get you to sit still. All the other children sat in their high chairs with their straps. You screamed when I tried to put them on, and then you used to climb out. You slept only when you wanted to sleep. And basically, you were a nightmare.
Hi everyone, I'm James Harris, and that was, well, my lovely, crazy, chaotic, and fun-enduring mother. Perhaps you can already tell, but my life has been steered by a series of chaotic moments since birth. Over the years, I've learned to truly welcome the unknown and live in the present. My new podcast, Positively Chaotic, is about those unnerving, chaotic moments in life and how to transform them into positive experiences. Each week, I'm inviting a special guest to chat about the madness that changed their lives and got them to exactly where they are today. You'll hear from all my friends ranging from the Real Housewives, athletes, actors, actresses, and Grammy award-winning artists like the wonderful Kelly Rowland.
Even when you come to a crossroads in life, in occupation, you have to actually tell yourself, what could work? What is going to work? What am I going to make sure of freaking works?
We all need a little extra dose of positivity these days. If you're interested in hearing these life-changing stories that are fun, chaotic, and always positive, then subscribe to Positively Chaotic now in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your podcast app of choice. New episodes are coming soon, and I cannot wait to share them with you. All right, here we go. Whoop! Okay, I'm ready.